So I'm Chelsea Holmes. I'm the 7 and 8 Curriculum Coordinator for Padua College, and that works across Tyabb, Rosebud and Mornington campuses. About 18 months ago, Paul Fairley, who's our Deputy Principal in charge of teaching and learning, approached me about heading up the literacy project with the CEO. I didn't know a lot about it at that point, but I did know that it needed to involve all curriculum areas. So Paul sent out an email, and we got a few bites across different learning areas. So we had Suzanne Grimes, who's numeracy and science from Rosebud campus, Julie Barnhorn, who's maths and science at Mornington, Penny Markham, who's maths and science from Mornington, and Samantha Slattery, who at the time was English and humanities out at Rosebud, but she's now at the Mornington campus as well. And obviously myself, who's English, media and drama, and I'm now based out at the Tyabb campus. I didn't know these teachers very well at that time, but so that was different, and I didn't really know what it was that we were going to do. So we met together for the first time and sort of talked about what the process was. We knew we had to address the annual action plan at the school and look at literacy and engagement and so things like NAPLAN data. So we knew we needed to do that, and I knew that it was something to do with participatory action research. And so now we headed off as a group to the CEO for the first time and threw around some ideas. What really came out of that was a shared kind of understanding of what our issues were, what we were facing across all the different classrooms. And I remember leaving that first conversation and thinking, this is really good. This is really unusual to have sat, with teachers from all those different learning areas, from 3 different campuses, and just talk about teaching and learning and what's going on in our classrooms or what isn't going on, and shared some ideas. We touched a lot on thinking and how we felt that we couldn't seem to get the students to think, and perhaps as teachers we were doing too much thinking for them, and how was that affecting their literacy. We left that conversation still not really sure what our research was going to be, other than we knew we wanted to improve literacy and engagement across the school, which was part of our school's action plan. It was interesting that each time we met, we kept saying, what's our question? We still don't have a question. And there was this a little bit of frustration, and we were certainly working in the unknown. I think our first question was, how do we improve engagement by focusing on literacy across the 4 Phase 1 subjects of the curriculum? And then that's a huge question, and it's hard because then we know, well, what answer are we looking for? What research are we looking for? That's, as I said, that was kind of our frustrations, but we went from there into all of our sessions with Bev and Brian, and those sessions were really rewarding and learning about obviously the different curriculum literacies for English, maths, science and humanities. And we'd often meet after that and talk about how we were going to try them in our various learning areas. And then after that, we'd all share back, how did we go with that? Did we find it worked well? The problem with that is that we still didn't find we had any sort of really solid data or evidence, or how to share it. We sort of created some documents on some shared drives, and we sent a lot of emails out, but it was really difficult working across 3 campuses and 3 learning areas and lots of different offices and all sorts of different positions of responsibility that we all had. So that was challenging. So that was something we were facing, and we couldn't do that. Somewhere along the line, we came up with this idea that we'd like to get some classroom displays, because ultimately, in order to improve learning engagement, we needed to improve teaching engagement and teacher awareness of what literacy actually was, and that it does affect everyone and not just English teachers. We talked about the idea of having professional learning teams or working in our learning area leader meetings and presenting the stuff that we were doing to our teams and making it really accessible. And from there we moved into looking at classroom displays and using what we were learning at the CEO and bringing it back, and as I said, creating some displays that could go across all of our classrooms and all of our learning areas and go into our meetings with our teams and really raise the awareness of literacy and how it's sort of how it affects all of our learning in all the different areas. So that's our goal, that's our plan. How have we realised our research question? And whilst I felt like we didn't actually have the data that we thought we hadn't solved, literacy issues across Padua College, we had started to break down the silos and work across campus and across the curriculum and have some really, really important discussions and do some really important work around that. At the same time, I also started working with the Western Port Cluster for Technology and spent a lot of time learning about Google for Education, and I discovered Google Communities, and that really spoke to me in terms of providing a platform, an interactive platform in real time that we could use to collect our work on literacy, to communicate with each other, and ultimately share with the school and share with, sort of raise that awareness that we were talking about that we were struggling with. So our Literacy at Padua Google community was born, and the team jumped on board that really, really enthusiastically. So we've started working there and using that as a place where we trial out some things that we're learning from Bev and Brian, and then share our results and share our resources there. So whilst we had some frustrations and we weren't really sure what our question was and what we were researching, as a team we've kind of realised that we actually solved a bigger problem in that we now are using this platform, and we are now working across the curriculum areas to look at literacy and address learning and teaching, which is great, and I really look forward to seeing where Google Communities takes us and our work with literacy and student engagement.